Welcome back to One Royal Way here on Kansas City Sports Network. It is opening week. We are 2 days away from opening day, recording this on Tuesday, getting y'all ready for a 4-game set at the K, starting on Thursday afternoon at 3:10, where Bobby Witt Jr. is going to make his big league debut, and the start of a 162-game season begins. Joining me to talk about this tonight is my good friend Alex Duvall, who hosts the Royals Farm Report podcast on this network as well. Be sure to check that out. If you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify, iTunes, you'll find that show as well. What's going on, man?
Not much. I am watching minor league baseball. I don't know if I can look. Vinny's batting.
There we go. Perfect.
Minor league baseball is on my, I hesitate to say TV, but I'm watching Vinny Pasquantino hit baseballs in real games. This is amazing. It's 3-1. Fifth inning. I am so excited that minor league baseball is back. We are 2 days away, like you said, from Major League Baseball being back. I'm kind of at a point where you can't tell me nothing. It is baseball season, baby.
Yeah, we're done with the conjecture. All the predictions are starting to go out the window, and we just get to actually analyze what happens on a baseball field in real games that matter. It's a great feeling, and I can't wait to talk about this series. There's a lot of storylines to talk about. Before we do that, as always, the show is brought to you by Kansas City Strength and Conditioning. Let's hear a word from them right now.
From the beginning, we knew right away that we wanted to do strength conditioning and a throwing program for the baseball and softball community. It wasn't something we were trying to back into or all of a sudden learn. We knew we were really good at coaching these skills from the get-go. And the fact that we're in the same business and the employees are all on the same page, we can write a program based off of what a kid needs, not just getting him stronger or faster from a general sense. It's what does this kid need? On the pitching end, we can say, hey, this kid needs such and such. He needs to do this or that better. A lot of times it turns out it's not something that needs to be fixed in the baseball cage or on the throwing mound. It actually needs to be fixed in the weight room.
Big thanks to them, as always, for sponsoring this show. Be sure to go check them out if you know of a baseball or softball player that needs a place to train in the Kansas City area. Alex, let's start on the pitching side of things here. And we'll specifically talk about Cleveland, and we'll move into Kansas City. We know for sure that Shane Bieber, 2020 Cy Young Award winner, one of the probably top 10 pitchers in the sport, is going to be starting on opening day, so it's going to be really tough. After that, but Cleveland's a pitching factory. So after that, it's some combination of Zach Plesac, Aaron Savali, Cal Quantrill, or Tristan McKenzie. It's a 4-game set, so we'll see 4 out of those 5. It's going to be a grind. I don't know how to say it other than I don't have very high expectations for this series. That's a rough draw right out the gate for an offense that has a lot of question marks.
I will say also, though, that they do not have much of an offense left. So our offense is going, like you said, going to have a hell of a time. That is one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. It is one of the best pitching staffs that is homegrown, most of it, right?
Yeah.
They've developed all of their own guys or acquired and retooled all of their own guys. So this is the goal, right? You either want to be Tampa Bay, you want to be Cleveland, you want to be the Dodgers, right? The ability to grow and produce your own pitching. And if you're the Royals, this is the model. So you get to see it up close and personal here on opening day. And like you said, it's going to be tough for the offense. But the nice thing is, on the flip side, is there's not much of an offense left. So a young pitching staff that you're trying to break in, that you're trying to get going for yourself, good opportunity to get started on a really hot note.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned a little bit about the lineup. It's Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, kinda. And that's about it. They just don't have a lot. They've been shedding payroll. They've been trading guys, in marginally over the last couple of years. And there's not even a guarantee that Jose Ramirez is going to be there come Thursday. There are some rumors out there about him possibly getting moved. I know Hector Gomez, who's pretty locked in, especially as a reporter and insider on the Latin side for a lot of guys. And he mentioned the Padres tonight as a possible trade before the deadline kind of on Thursday. I don't know how much validity there is to it, but it's out there. Toronto tried to make a move before they acquired Matt Chapman. So he's out there. How much longer he's going to be there, I don't know. If he gets moved before opening day, that offense is going to be in a world of hurt. And there's still some thump in there with Bobby Bradley. Like I mentioned, Franmil Reyes. Ahmed Rosario's okay. They have some pieces that are decent, but They're much better developing pitchers at this point than they are hitters. But it's still going to be a challenge for a pitching staff that I have a lot of question marks on the Kansas City side too.
Yeah, and that's going to be the storyline, right? Is the young offense, Bobby Witt Jr. I'm sorry, the young hitters as they continue to come, right? It will be a young offense, hopefully, eventually. But it's the young arms, it's the young pitching staff. It's where does Carlos Hernandez fit in long term? Where does Daniel Lynch, Brady Singer, where do these guys fit in? Chris Bubich. They're going to roll out there Greinke, Keller, Bubich, Hernandez for the first four. And now it's a matter of where does the rest of these guys fit in? John Heasley's back in Omaha. Piers Jackson Kowar will be in the bullpen. So, I'm curious to see what they do with him. I think Kowar's move to the bullpen could be semi-permanent. I think it could be a good spot for him as well. So we'll see. But yeah, the young pitching staff and the way they're able to develop them is going to be the storyline all year, as long as Bobby Witt Jr. doesn't run away with like Rookie of the Year or something crazy.
Right. And it's going to be fascinating what happens with the pitchers. Like, I know what I'm going to get from Zach Greinke. I'm probably going to get 5 or 6 innings, 4 or 5 hits, about 6 strikeouts, couple runs, and you take that. That's what you're going to expect. And that's what, if you get that from Zach Greinke all year, add in a shutout, 6 shut every once in a while, or a 4-inning blow up. That's what you're going to get from a 38-year-old starting pitcher that throws below hitting speed at this point in his career. So now it's all about, what are you going to get out of Brad Keller, who did not look very good in the spring? What are you going to get from Chris Bubich, who I thought he looked pretty solid overall? Or Carlos Hernandez, who got roughed up today for the 3rd time in the spring in his 3 starts. So I have a lot more question marks and a lot more concerns than I did a couple of weeks ago. And I know it's spring and most of the time guys are working on stuff and it's not always A+ lineups, and you guys are not working with their A+ stuff. But man, it is concerning at the fact that when you come into spring, there are a lot of times where there are guys that, especially young players, that look markedly better, or you see little bits of improvement. And I didn't see any of that. I didn't see it from Brady Singer. I really didn't see it from Daniel Lynch. Not really Jackson Kowar, even though I thought he looked okay. It's going to be a problem. And I think it is certainly a concern for what this team needs to be. If they want to compete, they have to pitch. I think their hitting core is going to be in a lot better shape. Because I know on the PD side, they're going to be just fine there. I still have some serious concerns about where the pitching staff is, at least at the big league level right now.
And I think the thing that I'm most curious about is how long they stick with some of these veterans who they've given a lot of grace to. It's funny to me. They sent all the kids back to minor league camp and started losing. Like, they were on a roll. They were hitting the ball early on. They were winning games. They sent all the kids back to minor league camp, and then they've lost 2-3 in a row. It's funny how that works out. But like, there's something to it. Like, the kids that they had up there are good. They can hit, they can field, they can run, they can pitch. It's how long do you ride out these veterans? I get it. They're veterans. They've been there. It's like, yeah, but they're very bad at it. Like, some of these veterans are running out there just because they've been doing it doesn't make them good at it. So we'll see. We'll see how long they ride it out. But like we were talking about the other night, they can't give Ryan O'Hearn 400 plate appearances to prove it. They can't give Hunter Dozier another 400 plate appearances to try to get right for the 3rd year in a row, right? That at some point there has to be production. And if they don't get that production, then they need to move on and they need to let the kids play.
Yeah. So looks like the lineup they're likely going to run out on opening day is going to involve Whit Merrifield, Bobby Witt Jr., Andrew Benintendi, Salvador Perez, Hunter Dozier, Adalberto Mondesi, Nicky Lopez, Michael A. Taylor. Am I forgetting somebody? So Carl Santana. So somewhere in that line. And that's a fine lineup to run out on opening day. Like, I don't have super high expectations for a lot of those guys, but we'll see what happens. I think that's a solid lineup, at least for where the Royals are right now, as they want to give Nick Pratto and MJ Melendez and Vinny Pasquantino, Kyle Isbell some more seasoning. And that's fine. And Isbell's on the roster. He's going to factor in at some point, especially in center field, I think. For right now, like, as meh as it feels and kind of underwhelming, we at least get to watch Bobby Witt Jr. And I'm okay with that for the most part, like being able to watch him go out there, and they didn't try and game anything. They didn't try and feed us some BS of he's going to go down and he's going to work on his fielding at third base for 2 weeks. And then he's magically going to be fine and we're going to call him up or something like that. And I think, and the Royals weren't alone in that. Like, Julio Rodriguez got called up by Seattle. Spencer Torkelson by Detroit. Bryson Stott to Philadelphia. So a lot of these teams are just bringing up their young guys and just letting them go because they're ready to go. So a little bit of change of mindset it's at least, it's a little encouraging in that regard.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm watching the Omaha and Indianapolis game, and O'Neal Cruz, they sent him down in AAA. So I don't know that I didn't register that, but you're right. All these other teams are promoting their top prospects, and the Pirates are like, we are cheap. Owners cheap.
The Pirates are a garbage organization, and they should feel bad, but they don't, because they don't care about winning. They just care about money. But that's also not exclusive to just the Pirates. That's most of Major League Baseball. I digress. Let's move. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. We went down that rabbit hole for most of the lockout. So I guess we'll start. Let's just start with Bobby Witt Jr. and just talk about him a little bit. What are your expectations, at least early on, for him? Like, we talked a little bit about this on Royals Farm Report that came out the day we're recording on Tuesday. Like, I feel like it's hard to have, like, realistic expectations because of how good he is. That, like, the unrealistic expectations fester really quickly because we know how good he is and how good he can be. But what you don't want is the Jared Kelenic unrealistic expectations that Seattle fans had last year. And when they struggle, they throw their hands up, oh, this kid's awful right away. Like, it's professional Major League Baseball. It's the 750 greatest players in the world. There is a learning curve, especially when you are 21 years old and you got, a taste of AAA last year. Like, I think if he hits, say 85, 90 OPS plus to start the year, cool. As he's adjusting cold weather baseball, it's not great. Like, I think he's going to be fine. And he's such a good player. Talent's going to win out. But don't expect this kid to come out and set the world on fire the way we think he can. And he's sure he can. But I'm not going to sit out there and be pissed off when he's struggling for the first 2 weeks of his big league career. Happens to everybody.
Yeah, the thing with him is his tools are so ridiculous that he is going, I think, like Mondesi, you can roll him out there and he's going to be an above average producer in some capacity because the tools are so loud. I think the growing pains are going to come in the polish. The growing pains are going to come with some strikeouts, with a few errors at third base where he tries to do too much. He tries to hit a pitch that's not in the strike zone with runners on and 2 outs, and he ends up striking out because he chased a pitch trying to play hero ball. Like, there's going to be some of that. And that's where the expectations need to be, like, middled out a little bit. Is you have to know that the polish and the experience that comes with being a big league veteran isn't going to be there right away. Mike Trout got sent back to AAA after his big league debut. Bryce Harper, I know he made the All-Star game when he was 19, but like, he wasn't lighting the world on fire like he does now, right? I mean, it took a year or two. It took half a season to get going. Think about Mike Moustakas, how awful he was for so long. Like, some of these guys, it takes a little bit, and that's okay. But the carrying tools are so ridiculous that, kind of like Adalberto Mondesi, I think he's going to produce in some capacity early and often. And it kind of gives him a hedge. It gives him a floor of a certain extent, because he'll always be able to get a hold of one, steal a base, make a dynamic play in the field, that even if he's struggling and striking out like 30% of the time, the wow plays will mask some of the problems. So even if he does struggle, I think people will be able to get past it. And I really think that there are some people who are going to be in way over their heads when he's just a very average hitter with some great tools early on. But I really believe the wow plays will kind of make up for some of that. So I'm hoping we'll be okay here, but I totally get it. I think I heard on 610 the other day, they were like, well, all these other top prospects came up there with their team's best player right away. It's like, okay, let's pump the brakes just a little bit. It's very possible he is. It's also very possible it takes a learning curve. And I think that's the thing, is just the patience. Like, he can still be the best player in the world, even if it takes him a year or two. So,
yeah, that's kind of where I sit, and he's going to be fine. And I hope they don't send him down. Like, I think at this point, like, unless it is a complete bottoming out, which I don't foresee at all because of just his makeup, like the stuff you can't quantify, I think he's going to be fine. He'll make it work. And he has a great core of guys around him that have been there, done that, in Salvi and Witt and Benintendi, the guys that were in that room when Mike Matheny gave him the speech of you're coming up to the big leagues and these guys are here to make sure that you be you. Go watch that video if you haven't. It's awesome. Like those types of videos are so cool. And I'm glad that we have that access to see those kinds of conversations. And you can see what it meant to him. You could see what it meant to Salvi and Witt and the conversations that they had going into 2021 that were, we want this kid on the roster. He's that good right now. They believed in this kid for so long that they want him on the big league roster. They're getting it now, and he's a part of the future. So don't screw it up. Like by being too fine with him, just let him go and play, and he's going to be great. Remember how awful he was that first week and a half in Double-A? No one remembers that because he figured it out pretty damn quick, didn't he?
It was literally like 10 games.
Yeah, it was 10 games where we were like, what the heck is going on? And then by the end of the month, we've completely forgotten about it because he had started lighting the world on fire and became the top prospect in baseball for obvious reasons. I'm curious what they're going to do with the outfield situation because I think Eduardo Olivares and Kyle Isbell have earned some playing time, at least Kyle Isbell for sure. But I think, and I mentioned it a little bit with Jordan Foote last week, it's really dependent, and eventually the outfield situation is going to work itself out when Mondesi goes on the IL.
Yeah, it sucks that we got to bank on something like that. Like I hate having to like have that hedge in there. I mean, you're right, but I hate it. It's like
I hate it too.
I've never seen like him and Buxton. I've never seen two guys get hurt and just be hurt so often. And I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not saying this is in any way has anything to do with them, but it's like building a roster around that and trying to give credit where it's due and have grace and be lenient and being understanding. And it's like, I cannot imagine how frustrating that is to like plan on that. Cause you're right. Like, what do we do when it happens? We're not talking about when it happens, how do we go about this? And I do think that clears up some of the picture, but man, think about how loaded they are right now on the infield, and how much better it could be if he stays healthy. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm really excited. I hope he can. I mean, if he plays 120 games, oh my gosh, dude, this infield could be so good. And it allows the outfielders to not have to have a roaming piece, right? Just stay there, just go play.
Yeah. I am totally willing to eat crow and all of it, all the crow in the world, if Mondesi manages for the first time in his career to stay healthy for a full season. And if he can, I mean, we've seen like there was that stretch where he played like 100 games, and I think it was 18 or 19, and he stole like 45 bags and he hit like 12 or 13 home runs. He was out of his mind the last month and a half. And if he can put that together, but it's such a big if because we have such like it's a trend. And it has been for years, even in the 2020 season. I think he was still playing banged up, even if he played all 55 or 60 games. Last year, he was awesome in the 10 game stretches we got to see him. And then he would go and get hurt for another 40 or 50 games. And it's just something you have to bank on. And the Royals are saying that they're going to the training wheels are coming off. And they're going to go and let him play. All right, cool. Until that first IL stint. And then you have to baby it again. Because he can't play every day. And if he can, then he's a 3 or 4 win player, if not more, because maybe playing every day will actually help him be consistent. What a concept that is. And you're in really good shape. But I can't count on it. You just can't at this point.
No, I agree 100%. And that's going to be the bummer in the outfield is when they have to start moving guys around and it's Hunter Dozier out there and it's Ryan O'Hearn playing right field. Oh my God. So
please don't.
That's going to be the thing.
Don't put that out into the universe, please.
Yep. No, I mean, I'm not the one. I don't make the lineups. I just complain about them.
Yeah. To the bullpen really quick before we move on. This has been kind of a jumbled preview, but I mean, we're going to be talking about this for 162 games. There's a lot of storylines here. But Colin Snyder making the big league roster, which I thought was a pleasant surprise. I thought he looked pretty good in the spring and certainly earned that spot, but I thought they'd send him back to AAA because he did not look very good when they sent him to AAA last year from AA. But at a certain point, he's been really good, and I'm curious what kind of role they have him in. I'd imagine it's probably like the mop-up duty in a win or a loss type of role early on just to get him comfortable. But he could end up being a sneaky good piece in this bullpen.
I am probably the low guy on Colin
Yeah.
Snyder. It's good. It's good stuff. He reminds me like I hate to put this on a guy. And I'm not saying he's going to be this guy. And I'm not saying he's as bad as this guy. He reminds me a little bit of Brandon Maurer.
A little
And
bit.
like the stuff's loud. Sure. Like you can't teach his ability to throw the baseball, but then explain to me how he goes to AAA and gets whacked around and how guys don't seem to be fazed by his fastball. I'm not saying I've got the answers. I'm not saying that, oh, he's clearly this and this and this. I'm just saying it looks to me like there's something left to be desired. And I get it. People are excited. Vandy kid, great story, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being. I'm just saying from the bullpen perspective, I hope I'm wrong because I'm looking at it like, okay, I mean, sure, it's fine, but there's something there. I think the perception is he's way better, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right.
Absolutely.
That this is a big piece, but I'm looking at it, and it's one of those things where I've been wrong about guys like this before. I look at it and I'm like, I don't see it. Like I don't see what everybody else is seeing. And then they go on in there. Riley Green is a good example of this. He's probably going to play center field for Detroit when he's healthy. I looked at Riley Green for a long time and I'm like, I don't get it. What is everybody else seeing in Riley Green that I'm not? And he is ascending up prospect lists. He's going to be the Tigers starting center fielder. He's 21. Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm AITA on Riley Green and Colin Snyder. I'm waiting to see it. So anyway, that was long form, but
No, I get what you mean. I mean, you sort of have to temper expectations for a guy that struggled in AAA, but obviously they believe in him enough, and if he's made the market improvements, then we'll see what happens. Gabe Spires in that bullpen now, which we're both guys that like him a lot, and he looked really good this spring. I'm a lot higher on him now than I was coming into. He's one of the few guys that I think really made significant strides from when we saw them last to the spring. So I'm curious what's going to go with that, but all in all, man, we get to watch baseball with K on Thursday, and that
so
is a great feeling. I cannot wait. I'm going with my dad. My dad and I are taking some PTO, and we're going to go on to opening day. It's my first time going to opening day too. So in all the years I've watched baseball, so very excited about that aspect of it too.
Only opening day I was at was 2016 with I don't even remember dude's name. Ray Fuentes was in right field against Matt Harvey and the New York Mets. Or did Harvey pitch that game, or did they bring Syndergaard out for opening night? I can't remember if Harvey
I don't remember
either. But that was right after they broke out the gold jerseys. It was Sunday night baseball or whatever night baseball it was, but it was so cool. I was at that 2016, the first major league game of the season, Royals Mets. What a cool thing that was. But
Royals legend Ray Fuentes. My goodness.
Royals legend Ray. I thought, okay, speaking of being wrong, I thought Ray Fuentes was going to be a dude, like a Kyle Isbell type of dude, like good defense, solid bat, be a fourth outfielder. Like I really thought Ray Fuentes would stick, and he was gone quick and never came back.
Very quickly. Yeah. All right. So on the other side of this, we are going to talk about some predictions for the season, both Royals and MLB, just a little fun thing right before opening day. Before we get to that, you're going to hear an interview that I did earlier today with Kiona Sinks with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It's going to become a regular segment on this show, talking about ways to support the museum, things like events that are coming up and things of that nature. It's going to be really fun and talk about maybe a little history of the Negro Leagues every once in a while. But I'm very excited to have a little bit of a partnership with them on this show to bring support to a great Kansas City institution that needs our support as a community. So go ahead and hear that right now. Joining me now, and hopefully this is not the last time we'll have her on, Kiona Sinks, the Community Engagement and Digital Strategy Manager for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. Talk a little bit about what we have coming down the line here, down at 18th and Vine in Kansas City at the Negro Leagues Museum. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, Joel, thanks for having me. And such an exciting year for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. I think since December 5th, none of us here at the office have stopped smiling at the fact that our late chairman, John Jordan Buck O'Neill, has rightfully taken his place into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. What a tremendous, opportunity for the museum. What a way for Kansas City to celebrate in this national, once in a lifetime moment. You only get one induction. That's it. And so, it's not lost on our staff that even though enjoying the joys of celebrating with the baseball community and local Kansas Cityans, Buck, when he missed by one vote in 2006, he would have used this induction to advocate for his museum in a way that allows us to financially start to think about the long-term perpetuity of our institution. And so that's not lost on us this time. And so we'll be working very, very intentionally to make sure those plans align with some big fundraising goals. So we're excited about that. And of course, the museums, just like most people, bringing back, our annual calendar for 2022 calendar of events in the hopes that this crazy virus stays away from us. But we're excited. It's an exciting year for the museum, and it's an historic one as well. So we're really looking forward to this year.
Yeah, the induction of Buck is long overdue, and I'm very happy that he's going to have his time. I know it is far too late, and I wish he could, as the baseball community in general wishes that he could be there for it. I know that that Bob and everybody at the Negro Leagues Museum is going to do it justice when he is inducted in Cooperstown, as he rightfully should be. How is the prep for that gone? I mean, we're still a few months away from the induction in Cooperstown, but give people an idea of what that has been like to get ready for such an event.
Yeah, I don't think it's a one answer. I think it's a multi-layered situation. I mean, number one, we're planning for Cooperstown festivities, right? So the traditional, for those who have been to Cooperstown, I have not, so this is my first time. But you have their traditions and what they do. And then the museum, we're hosting our own event in Cooperstown in honor of Buck O'Neil, with some great panelists that I can't wait to share once things are kind of set in stone and confirmed. But you best believe, we're going to roll out the red carpet in honor of Buck there in Cooperstown and host an event that's going to pay homage to his legacy and what he's done for the game of baseball and what he's done for the community nationally. And just what an amazing human being, such a person who did so much to help us understand the contributions of the Negro Leagues. And I always, like to point out, I talk to Bob a lot. And one thing that I hear him always make mention of is when he asked Buck O'Neil, why did he want to build a Negro Leagues Baseball Museum? And, just so short and, pointing as Buck does, he just simply said, so they can be remembered, so we can be remembered. And so I think now we have that opportunity to make sure Buck, his legacy will always be intact and will always be remembered. But I think before the Hall of Fame, announcement, Joel, we all could agree that Buck was always a Hall of Famer in our eyes.
Absolutely.
And so I think this just, confirms everything and validates what we already knew.
Yeah, it's something that was exactly what I was about to say. It validates what we already knew about what Buck O'Neil has done for the game and his impact that goes beyond the field of play, obviously. You mentioned a little bit about getting kind of back to the normal calendar of events at the museum. What can people look forward to come to the museum and see, or beyond that?
Absolutely. Well, we just came off an incredible high through Black History Month with our Kansas City Royals. They graciously and generously paid for all the admission for the entire month. And so we're going to continue that momentum into opening day this week. And there's some exciting things in the works there. And we're really excited about this amazing opportunity that the Royals and the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum have to celebrate not only Buck O'Neil, but to work more in alignment in the community and helping people understand the importance that the role that the museum plays. And I think we saw a little bit of that during Black History Month. I mean, Joel, we saw close to 8,000 local Kansas Cityans that visited the museum just because of the simple fact that they announced free admission, right? And so what that tells us, half of that people, it's been 10 years or I've never been. And so you start to kind of understand, the local potential and which ways the Royals in the museum can continue to work together to just simply help educate people. And then next, Jackie Robinson Day is approaching very fast. And so this year marks the 75th anniversary of that milestone occasion. And the museum's contribution to the 75th anniversary is our traveling exhibition that's called Barrier Breakers. And Joel, that chronicles after Jackie. So each player is highlighted who broke their MLB's prospective color barrier because no one remembered those guys. Everybody remembers Jackie, but what about the 16th guy, right? And so that's our contribution. And it's launching with the Dodgers. And we're really excited about that. It's actually here on permanent display at the museum. So for those who have not seen the new exhibit, they can come to the museum and see it on display. But we're packaging that up into a traveling exhibition that is in partnership with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They'll keep it into the All-Star break, and then we'll move forward from there in the hopes that, you know, every MLB team will want to host this exhibit because it is important as it tells the story of Black baseball.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating story. And I remember listening to, I'm an avid listener of the Black Diamonds podcast that Bob hosts, and listened to that whole story of the barrier breakers going all the way up to, I think it was Pumpsy Green and the Red Sox at the very end, if I remember correctly. If I got it right, please let me know. Just going all the way through, it's fascinating that those guys are kind of lost in all of this. And obviously what Jackie did was remarkable and should not go understated, but those guys were just as important to the history of the game as well. So it's very remarkable.
Absolutely. And then, as you mentioned, just coasting into the year, we always do our community-oriented event, the Heart of America Hot Dog Festival, where we simply just have hot dogs and R&B funk music here in the historic 18th and Vine District. Our Hall of Game ceremonies that we've been doing for many years, where we host formal ceremonies here to honor former Major League Baseball players who encapsulate the spirit of the Negro Leagues. And so this all takes place here in Kansas City, and we have not hosted any of that in 2 years. And so we're really excited to bring a lot of those things back. And of course, I mentioned the gala earlier, our Kansas City Hall of Fame celebration that nonprofits, community-led organizations, civic leaders, sports, people in the sports community will have an opportunity to join us later in November of this year for Buck O'Neill's birthday, along with celebrating his induction. So we'll end on a very high note, but all this stuff doesn't happen overnight. So it's definitely been a lot of planning for me. And when you ask, what does all this look like? Right. We have a great staff here at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And so there'll definitely be some volunteer opportunities that the community will be able to help assist the museum in that way, because we can't do it by ourselves, but it's going to be an exciting year for us as well.
Absolutely. So besides the obvious of going down to 18th and Vine and going to the museum, what are some other ways that people can help support what you guys are doing over these next few months? It's obviously a whirlwind, but what can people do?
Joel, I think people can become a member. When you sign up and you pledge and you become a member of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, you're a part of our family. And I think a lot of people probably know, or they're like, oh, I thought I was a member, or they didn't know we had membership, options available to choose from. And so I'm 3 for 3 right now. I've been on this, every chance I get, I kind of plug membership, and I've been getting emails and text messages that, in honor of Father's Day, my sister, she went and bought 10 memberships that she's going to give. That to me, it kind of validates, you're a part of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum family. So I would encourage people, of course, you can always donate to the museum, but becoming a member of our organization, you're essentially a stakeholder. You support our work, you believe in our work, and you're helping us keep the legacy and the history alive in honor of the Negro League. So become a member. People can do that on our website any given time, affordable options for you to choose from. But I would highly encourage people to become a member of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
I think that's going to be on my list of things to do this year. That's for sure. Before I get you out of here, Kiona, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll definitely do this again soon. I have to ask, just because I love the history of the game, and as I mentioned off air, the Negro Leagues is one of my favorite things to study and look at, because it is such a fascinating time in the history of the sport. In your time at, working for the museum and being around Bob, is there a certain player, team, moment that you've learned about that fascinates you above any other?
I think right now, as we embark on celebrating the 80th anniversary of that 1942 Kansas City Monarchs team, you kind of take a step back and you realize how much they sacrificed for our city, how great of athletes they were. But not only that, living and operating in our communities. You saw Satchel Paige, within our city, working and thriving while playing baseball and being one of the best pitchers, baseball has ever seen. And so the more and more I hear, a lot within the museum, of course, in reading and studying and learning, but also listening to Bob and talking about the Monarchs, which, as you might know, we're getting ready to celebrate and have the March of the Monarchs on May 7th.
Yes.
and giving them the celebration and the parade they never had. And so right now, the Kansas City Monarchs, it's been top of mind. I've been looking at a lot of stuff, but it's just so fascinating to see, here are these guys that they were legends. They were the New York Yankees of the Negro Leagues, as we say here at the museum. And so it's really cool to see, how much Kansas City played a tremendous role in Black baseball, the founding of the Negro Leagues, and the names we know like Hilton Smith, Buck O'Neil, Satchel Paige, all these incredible athletes that called Kansas City home and played right here. And so that, to me, just shows that we birth greatness. I mean, our history reflects it. And so our present shows that as well. And the contributions of the Monarchs should never be forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. There's such great baseball history in this city. If you have not gone to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum for some reason, go down and check it out. It's an incredible place, and I need to make sure to go again soon. Kiona, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joel, and keep wearing that 1942 cap.
I love it. My wife got it for me for my birthday, and I wear it at least once a week.
Amazing.
It's my favorite. Can't wait for the next interview I get to do with Kiona, and hopefully maybe I'd love to interview Bob in the future. I know how busy he is, but that would be like a dream come true for me as a amateur. I call myself an amateur baseball historian, but just to be able to talk to a guy that knows so much, that would be a ton of fun. So let's start here, Alex, with our predictions. Let's just go right out the gate and talk about record for this season. I know Vegas has anywhere from like 73 to 75. I've seen 70. I've seen upwards of 76. I think it was a bet MGM, but 74.5 has been the main one that we've seen over under. I'm thinking over, not significantly. Like it's like 77 and 85 to me feels right for where this team is. Vegas knows all, and so I'm probably an idiot. But I do think having Bobby Witt Jr. in the lineup every day is going to add at least 2 to 3 wins realistically. And I also think, in all honesty, the team is going to be better when Nick, MJ, Vinny, in some capacity, come up and play. They're just better players at this point than the guys that are running out on opening day. It's the way it is. And it's not a slight to those guys. Carl Santana, who's made an incredible big league career, has done it for 10 plus years. But at this point, I would rather see Nick Pratto or Vinny at first base. I would rather see MJ in the lineup over Ryan O'Hearn. I would rather see Kyle Isbell in the lineup over Michael A. Taylor. And I think the team could be better that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we've seen, at least covering the minor leagues, like we've seen these dudes for multiple years. And what we saw from them in 2021, you can't tell me at this point that they're not going to be better big league players, at least at this point.
No, I agree. And I think when the young guys get here, that team will be better as well. So we'll see. I've got them at 79 and 83. I am hammering the over on this. Part of it, I feel like, is like emotional, like because in my opinion, they have to be.
Yes.
In my opinion, they have to be over this win total. They have to show improvement. If they don't, Royals fans are going to riot. And I'm not saying if they win 75 games, Royals fans are going to be pissed. But if they win 72, if they go backwards, Royals fans are going to be upset. And it's going to be, like, again, it doesn't have to be outright, like, playoff contention, but they have to show signs of life. There has to be improvement in the rotation. There has to be improvement with the young bats. And maybe that's why I'm leaning to the over. But this team couldn't be any worse than they were for most of the first half last year. And they showed some signs of life down the back half of the home stretch there. So, the AL Central is not what it once was. The Tigers aren't very good. Cleveland might, like you said, sell Jose Ramirez, and then they're not, super scary anymore. I'm not buying Minnesota. And Chicago, I think, will be down, especially if Lance Lynn misses an extended amount of time. So there are wins to be had. The NL Central is not very good. So, there are wins to be had. And I just think, wait, do we play the NL Central?
It's the NL West. So there are wins to be had against the Diamondbacks and the Rockies.
Yeah, never mind. The NL West is loaded at the top. So forget, I said NL Central. We play the NL West. But anyway, there are wins to be had in the AL Central. And I think this team needs to be close to 80 wins. I'm not saying they have to be or fire everybody. but they have to show us signs of improvement. So I've got them at 79 and 83, and I do have them finishing in 4th place in the AL Central. I think Cleveland is good to be right around 500 every year. I think they finish a couple games above the Royals. I think the Twins are right there in that slot, right above the Royals. And I think the White Sox are the clear runaway winner. So I think I said they're going to finish 4th. I don't actually have that in the tweet. So maybe they finish 3rd, but I don't think the difference between 2nd and 5th is more than like 10 games. Like I think the rest of the pack is pretty tight in there. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that if they finish 3rd or 4th, like it feels like it's a 3-way coin flip between Cleveland, Detroit, and Kansas City for anything from 2nd to 4th. And you could flip it any way, and I'd probably believe you. I don't buy Minnesota at all. Who's gonna pick if Sonny Gray is your ace? Like, yikes, man. Like, who's in their bullpen? Like Taylor Rogers? Other than that, like, I just don't know, man. I like Rocco Baldelli as manager, and I think they're going to hit, obviously, with Correa in that lineup. And if Buxton can stay healthy, Miguel Sano, sure, I think they could hit. Gary Sanchez, maybe getting out of New York would be good for him because they hated him. But I don't buy into them at all. I think Detroit's actually going to be kind of sneaky. I really like it. I think AJ Hinch is a great manager. You can say whatever you want about what happened in Houston, but he is a really good manager. And they traded for Austin. They went aggressive and they traded for Austin Meadows. They got Javi Baez. They brought up Torque. They still have Miggy. I know Miggy's on the back, like on the 17th hole of his career, but he still can hit. And when they get Riley Green back, along with their young pitching staff, they could put it together really quickly. And then the Royals really have to get aggressive and start winning, because then you fall even further behind a White Sox organization that is probably going to run a train through this division and most of the American League.
Yeah, I think the rest of the AL Central is really up for grabs. Like if the Royals went 83 and 81 and, or I'm sorry, 83 and is it 81? Dude, I can't. Yeah, 83 and 79. My God. If they win 83 games and finish 2nd place, would it really surprise you? Like,
no,
just at this point. So we'll see. That's why I think the Royals can finish above their projection. I do think the White Sox run rampant for the most part. But yeah.
All right. Let's give out some awards for the Royals. Who is going to be their MVP this year?
Bobby Witt
I think
Jr.
It's pretty obvious. It's Bobby Witt Jr. Yeah. I don't think there's really a second option. I think Salvi is probably your 2nd place. I don't think he's going to hit 48 homers this year. That is such a tough thing to replicate for any player in professional baseball. But if he hits 35 to 40, I wouldn't be shocked. Especially if they can bring up like an MJ or something like that to take some of the pressure off him catching in the second half of the season and just let him DH and just mash. I think that's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I didn't think you were actually going to agree with me there. I figured you would take Salvi. So when I said Bobby Witt Jr., I thought I was like throwing out a hot take. And you agreed with me. I was like, oh, like am I in the majority here thinking it's going to be Bobby Witt Jr.?
I think it is. I mean, he's probably the most talented player on the team right now, for being honest. Like, it's not a knock on anybody else that's done it and cut their teeth in the big leagues for as long as they have, but the tools are just better than just about everybody. The power tool on Salvi is maybe better than Witt, but other than that,
I do think there's some like fatigue, like the way we forget like about Mike Trout is the clear best player in baseball sometimes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we do forget about Salvi. Like, and every time I say this, I believe it. I picked Bobby Witt Jr. to finish 1st in the team in WAR. I think he wins the MVP. But sometimes I even like admittedly forget how good Salvi is, and just like you got to circle back to it.
Salvi is awesome, and he is going to have another awesome season. I don't think that he's going to fall off a cliff the way some people think. He's not the 50th best player in baseball. I think he is very much better than that. But I do think Bobby Witt Jr. is just a better player. Like overall, plays a better, more defense, a little more hit. They're going to strike out a lot. Both of them will, but they're both going to mash homers. So we'll go there. And if you want to give me a third, give me a Chris Bubich like breakout season. I think the feel to pitch for him, it's much better than any of the other guys that he came up with. And at some point, like that does work. And he can run it up into the mid-90s. If he can get that slider to work and have that 4th pitch, then I think he's going to be really good. I've always liked Chris Bubich. I loved him when they drafted him. and he completely sold me with his 2019 season. I think he's going to have a really good year.
I wouldn't be surprised. The changeup is one of the best pitches in the system when he's right. I just can't believe a guy. I mean, his delivery's funky, so maybe I shouldn't be so surprised. But a lefty that throws 90 to 92 most of the time, like you said, he can run it up, and he needs to do it more often. But his command is so bad sometimes. Like it is,
Yeah,
and he'll miss in the same spot. Like usually with a big leaguer, we've missed in the same spot now 2-3 pitches in a row. He'll do it for an entire game and doesn't get his fastball changeup out of that high arm side miss.
Yeah.
And so it's got to get at some point, he's got to get back over the plate. And sometimes he doesn't for like an entire outing. And it's just like, how can you do this over and over and over and over again? So we'll see. His stuff is certainly capable, but if the steps in the right direction come for him, I really think he has the chance to be the best of that bunch.
Yeah, I think for him, and I probably mentioned this on previous Royals Farm podcast before we were with KCSN, and I do think some of his command issues and some of that stuff is just kind of part and parcel with his delivery, that it is so funky that sometimes his arm can lag and you get that high and away miss. But if you try and take that away from him, then you're losing some of the deception for a guy that doesn't have overpowering stuff. So there's some weird kind of give and take there that you almost like you take it because the deception is there enough that he's still going to miss bats. But if you try and straighten out and iron out his delivery, then you lose some of that deception and he gets hammered even more. So there's some contradictions there with what he could do. So I don't know. And he also mentioned last year he had that stretch about a 6-week stretch from July through the first part of September where he was awesome and one of the best pitchers in the rotation. And he talked about being too fine and just trying to locate. And he just goes, no, I'm just going to go out there and throw the crap out of my fastball. And I'm just going to throw it as hard as I can. And aim small, miss small. And he just started striking dudes out a little more. So I wonder if that change in mindset does help him as well.
I hope so, because when he runs his fastball up to 96, it makes me feel a certain way. And it's not something that makes me feel that way very often. So I hope so. He needs to. That is the number one predictor of success, is how hard you throw your fastball. So go out there and let it rip. That's also how we teach command, right? Is
yes,
throw your fastball hard over and over and over again, and then train your body to throw it where you want to throw it, not guide it and aim. And that's like little league stuff. So I hope so. I hope he goes out there and rips it, because it's a good pitch and his changeup will play off it even better.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some interesting things to go with that. What else do we want to do? I kind of mentioned a little bit about, so who's your breakout guy? Chris Bubich is mine. Who's your breakout guy this year?
Dylan Coleman. I think he is a bona fide big league closer. He has top of the world stuff. It is phenomenal. What a pickup by the Royals, and what a story, his work ethic to come back from all the injury issues that he had in San Diego and even through his time in Kansas City. And I think he's their closer by June 1st, like I've said in the past. And I think he's a borderline all-star. And the next Scott Barlow, this bullpen, I think he's really, really, really good.
Yeah, I think I like that a lot. So this, without knowing what it would be, and this is kind of an off-the-wall question, but we'll go into some MLB stuff here. Who do you think will have the best walk-up song or walkout song this year?
I really always liked Jorge Soler's music that he walked out to.
Yeah.
He had a song called La Gozadera earlier, and it's by is it a Cuban group or Dominican group? Gente de Zona. It's
probably Cuban. I mean, he's Cuban, so I'd assume it's probably Cuban.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't know. Like
I honestly don't know.
Jorge Soler always had great walk-up music. And then Whit Merrifield. Was I at the game with you when I said Whit Merrifield looks like a guy that would walk out to TikTok songs?
Yes.
And he did. He walked out to Astronaut in the Ocean song. I was like, God almighty, Whit, don't be so predictable, man. So Whit Merrifield has the worst walk-up music. Eric Hosmer and Lorenzo Cain always had great stuff. Who on this team, though? James Shields always had great walk-up music. Duffy always had great walk-up.
Kelvin Herrera's El Abayade was that one was good.
El Abayade, yes. Let's see. I'll pick this year because Nicky Lopez kind of sucked. I'll take for best walkout song on opening day. You're going to be there, so you have to report back. I will take I'll take Michael A. Taylor. Give me Michael A. Taylor because I feel like he had a good one last year, but I don't remember what it was. So I'll take Michael A. Taylor. I could see him walking out to like some old Snoop or some old Ice Cube or something.
Yeah, I'll see if I can I won't, even if I don't know the song, like I'll at least power rank it and we'll go from there.
Okay.
I'm
going to Google it. I think he had a really good one last year.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Scott Barlow. But I wanted to go with Andrew Benintendi for a second because I know he's like an Ohio guy. He went to Arkansas, so a little bit of country music. But I think he walked out to like Low Cash last year, so that's some like Nashville pop stuff. I'm not into that. So no, I'll go with Scott Barlow. I feel like he would have like something good coming out of the bullpen.
I think Michael A. Taylor walked out to an Andy Mineo song last year, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off on Michael A. Taylor, but I'll take him for best walkout song this year. Scott Barlow's a good pick. Doesn't Scott Barlow? Never mind. We'll talk about that off air.
Yeah. All right. So let's do just some MLB predictions real quick. Let's just run through them. We don't need to give too many explanations, but give me your AL and NL division winners and the wild cards.
AL East, I've got the Yankees. I've got the White Sox. I've got the Mariners. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. I've got the Mets. I've got the Cardinals. I've got the Dodgers. I've got the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Angels getting a wild card. I've got the Padres, Phillies, and Braves getting a wild card. So that means I have no Toronto, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. I've got an all New York World Series. I got the Yankees over the Mets. I've got Mike Trout winning MVP. I've got Acuna winning MVP. I've got an Eovaldi Cy Young, a Scherzer Cy Young, a Witt Jr. Rookie of the Year. My O'Neal Cruz pick isn't looking so great right now for NL Rookie of the Year because he is in AAA at the moment. And like I said, I've got the Royals at 79 and 83.
All right. So going down in the American League, I have division winners, the Astros, the White Sox, and the Blue Jays. NL, Dodgers, Brewers, Braves. Wild card in the AL, Rays, Red Sox, Mariners. So notice who's missing out of that from the AL. And then in the NL, Phillies, Cardinals, Giants. So I don't have either of your World Series is not in my playoffs. Division or MVPs, Mike Trout, Juan Soto. Cy Young, Garrett Cole, Sandy Alcantara. Going a little sneaky pick, but I also have a plus 4,000 ticket on him, so I'm banking on it. Rookie of the Year, Bobby Witt Jr. and Bryson Stott. I have the Royals at 77 and 85. My World Series, Braves over Blue Jays in 6.
Very nice. I don't have the Astros or Blue Jays in the playoffs, which the AL playoff field this year is loaded. It's loaded. I don't know how you pick 6 teams out of that.
Yeah, I went with maybe I'm buying into the darling a little too much with the Blue Jays, but their pitching staff is really good, and they're gonna mash if they can figure out the back end of that bullpen, which they have some dudes like Julian Merriweather, Jordan Romano, Nate Pearson. That if they can just find one dude to lock it down in the 9th, I think they're gonna run away with the East. I know the Rays just traded Austin Meadows, but they're also the Rays, and they're just gonna figure it out and win 90 games. So I still have them. I don't have the Yankees because I think the Yankees are just going to underachieve. I think it's as simple as that. I know they don't like Aaron Boone as a manager. I think he's fine. But can you trust Aaron Judge to stay healthy? He did last year, but I don't know if he will again this year. Can you trust Stanton to stay healthy? Gleyber Torres? They got hurt a bunch last year. And I just don't know if they can do it again.
I think they're winning it all. I really like what they've done. And I agree with you. The injury concerns are horrific. However, at some point, something has to give. And they have been so unlucky with injuries. I'm just going to bank on it clicking. And with my predictions, I've noticed that when I get really analytical and really dive into the
I didn't dive in too hard.
I do horrible. Or like I'll get all the ones everybody else got right and then miss like some obvious ones. So I just said, what does my gut feel like? What do I think is going to happen? I started looking at stuff on the board, looking at rosters, moving stuff around. I was like, there's my field. That's it for the year. I didn't dive too much into it, and I would not be shocked if I got all of them right because of that. So we'll see.
Yeah, and on the NL side, like I know the Mets are kind of everyone's darling too, but they're the Mets. Full stop. They just underachieve. It's just what they do. And I know they have DeGrom, but he's out. Scherzer is hurt. Like Then someone needs to audit these these trainers and physical therapists for the Mets, because these dudes are getting hurt a lot.
It's nuts.
It's kind of like, it's almost like, not even almost, it is concerning. But the Braves lost their, like, a dude that's going to get a statue outside that stadium, and Freddie Freeman, and they got better.
Probably.
Like, Matt Olson is, I don't think people realize how good Matt Olson is.
He's going to mash in that park.
He is. And, oh yeah, in case you forgot, the Braves didn't have Ronald Acuna last year for half of that season, and they still won the World Series, and they're getting him back in about a month. So I know how hard it is to repeat, but the fact that a World Series team lost a guy like that in Freddie Freeman and they got better, I have a hard time believing that they can't do it. And I know the Dodgers are going to be freakish because they have a literal all-star team as their lineup. And I know Dave Roberts has come out and said, we're winning the World Series, like, book it, which I love that confidence. I think the Braves are just a better team right now.
The Dodgers are an injury and Cody Bellinger away from losing the division to the Padres again.
I don't think I don't buy into the Padres just because I don't know what their rotation is going to look like. I know, like, Darvish was one of the worst.
Manaya.
Darvish was one of the worst pitchers in baseball after the sticky stuff ban last year.
People always like, how does he throw this pitch with such tight breaks so late? It's like, I can tell you.
I can tell you why.
So you really want to know?
Yeah.
There's only one way to do it, Garrett.
Yeah, my last point is, I think this is the year the Mariners break their playoff drought for the first time since I was 5.
They're winning the West.
I'm not going to go that far. I think the Astros are still good. I know that.
We believe.
Oh, if they do it, I'll love it. And I'm not going to hate it. And I'm just going to, and out of my playoff thing, I'm just going to be angry that the Angels have the 2 best players in the sport, and one guy that is coming off the greatest season in Major League history, and a dude that's probably top 5 in the history of the sport, and they're going to miss the playoffs again because they're the Angels.
They're not missing the play. They got a wild card spot, Joel.
I sure hope so, because we need Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in the playoffs. That needs to happen.
Yes, the baseball needs it. Rig it. I don't care how you have to rig it. Rig it so the Angels can make the playoffs.
Even if it means
do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go. Well, thank y'all for listening to this one. And if you see me out at the K for whatever reason on Thursday, be sure to say what's up. I can't wait to get back out there and watch a ball game. I'm so glad we're getting 162 in, and it is baseball season, folks. God, I'm happy. Talk to y'all next week.